Hey y'all, it's Dr. Court with another episode of The Rewrite, where we are rewriting our ever after unapologetically and unedited. I am so tickled to introduce my guest today. This is Stephanie, though most people call her Steph, so that's what we're going to be doing today. She is the founder of Lotus River Wellness, which is an accredited yoga and nervous system based education company. She primarily supports military spouses and families, especially within the special operations community. I happen to know Steph, and she is one of the kindest and sweetest souls you will ever meet. I am so excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. So we're going to jump into all the things while we talk, and my listeners know that sometimes we stutter and we cuss and we cry and we have to take breaks at times. So if you do any of those things, you are very welcome here. And we will talk about your business. I want you to tell us all about it, but I'm going to dive in with kind of a little bit of a heavy hitter from your application.
Okay.
So, when you build it out, you said that rewriting your life teaches you that being behind is relative. Sometimes you're not starting late, you're finally starting as yourself. I want you to tell me what moment of change caused you to get there.
Gosh. Really honestly, after my service member was shot in Afghanistan, I received a call while I was working full time. I had a couple kids, they were little, and became a caregiver giver overnight. The world pretty much stopped. I was at his bedside for months and was very I had lost everything. I used to be the one that pulled the community together. I always planning, hosting, very involved. I still worked full time through deployments. It just made life easier. And then when he got wounded and shot, really, that's when life kind of turned around. I grew really, really bitter. I was very mama bear mode always. And then I went on a retreat with the Station Foundation in Montana and we did yoga. And I came back from that and we went to a celebration of life. And I had somebody say to me, how does it feel to be a piece of furniture now? And that I had to walk away and leave because that was not at all how I looked at myself, but it almost made me feel like that's how other people saw me because I had withdrawn from so much. Um, Through his recovery, he got better. He then ended up screening out at DevGru, and life got harder and more isolated for me. And then a couple years after that, we ended up separating, and it was about to turn 40. And so at 40, really, we had entered service young after high school. And so I really thought like I was going to hit 40. I was going to be on my way. He was retiring that year. We were going to just move back to Texas. That's when life could fully start. And it looked totally different. So for something that I've given my life for so many years for, and it was really my identity. I took so much pride in being a military spouse. It was just I was fine with it. I was happy having that as my label, really. Especially a special operations wife. It's like I can't say much about what he does or what he's doing, but I almost really kind of like that little secretive side to it that I got. So then
Absolutely.
when we separated, I didn't know what to talk about anymore. I didn't know what my life looked like. I taught yoga, right? But it was just more like a hobby. I did it for my friends. I taught, I
Yeah.
loved it. I taught around town, but it wasn't going to be like my go all in career. I didn't need to be this expert yogi. I
Yeah.
was okay with that. But then we separated. Divorce happened several years later, being military. But we are officially divorced, and I celebrated my 40th birthday in Tulum, actually, with my two closest girlfriends.
I love
Yes,
that.
I do too. It was wonderful. Can't wait to go back. And then really came back and ready to hit the ground because I knew I had to do something. I still had my two kids. They were
Yeah.
getting older. I needed to make a living for myself. But everything I did, everything I worked for was military connected.
Yeah.
So that was a
Quite the
hard wake
transition.
up call. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
for
really
sure.
was.
And I think so many people, we, as women, and men can do it too, but we really start to support someone else's mission, and whether it's a military mission or it's life goals and dreams, they're building a business, whatever the case may be. And I really feel like that's where we lose ourselves the most, because we have folded ourselves so much into the roles and titles that we take on as mom, caregiver, military spouse, business owner, whatever the case may be, that we start
Yes.
to lose what our identity is. And it's so interesting that you say that what you thought life was going to look like at 40 turned out to be you had to do a pretty significant rewrite yourself at 40.
Yes. Hmm. Really. Because I had worked odds and end jobs. I loved it. I had started businesses,
Right.
but never really got to complete them, finish them. Once I'd get to a point that was like, okay, I got to take this to the next level. We'd get orders. He'd get injured. I'd have a baby. I was in a car accident that was like, I was in a wheelchair for several like months, and
Wow.
there was a lot that led up to it. But I thought, okay, this, I can do this time. And then something else would come up. And so it was constant, but I didn't really have, I guess the only real thing I had that was consistent in my life outside of my family was yoga. That's what I
Yeah.
always went back to. And it found me, thankfully, when I was at my most bitter point in life. And I ran with it from there because I think nervous system reset, right? I need that. That's part of my healing. It will help me come into myself and stop looking and serving others outward necessarily. Like, I can't, my big saying was, how can I be we if I can't even be me?
Oh, I love that.
So, right.
I
So when
love
I went to
that.
Montana,
Everybody
I
take
started
a
that.
second and write that down. That is
Right.
incredible. I love
Like,
that.
I can't be we. We can't go do things for fun. If I am so bitter and like,
Yeah.
I'm on stand like guard all the time. Oh, is somebody gonna bump into you? Do I have to go after them? It's like, what? No, I'm 5'3". Like, I I don't have much kick behind me, but don't make me, right? I was just ready
Yeah.
to just snap at any point, and it was no good for anybody. So when I went to Montana and I had those few days by myself with other like-minded women and
Yeah.
yoga, it was like, oh, I can be me, then we can be we, because we will
Yeah.
make it. But if I can't, then we're not.
Yeah.
So that was really my push.
Okay. I love
Hmm.
that. I do. And I feel
You
like
know,
you
funny.
had another little bit of a push maybe prior to that, because you said it a minute ago, and I know what you mean by it, and some of our listeners may resonate with it too, but you said someone asked you, how does it feel to be a piece of furniture? Can you tell us a little bit more about what did that mean to you? And I feel like we can kind of pull some pieces of that into what that means for other people.
Sure. So first of all, I kind of mentioned a second ago that I was in a car accident and I was in a wheelchair myself. So I was visiting family. My daughter was 6 months old at the time, and I was visiting family in Texas and got T-boned by a drunk driver. I was in ICU. They had to Red Cross letter my spouse home to me. My life expectancy was questionable. I had a lot of injuries, but once I finally got out of the hospital, he was at my bedside, and I got out. I couldn't go home because my house wasn't ADA. I
Mm.
couldn't get into my home in a wheelchair because it was upstairs. It was a whole big mess. But with where we were, and for me, being in a wheelchair and needing him, right? Like, he was my comfort, but he couldn't be there because he had to serve the cert in his time, right? So he was about to deploy. He had a lot going on his own. So in order for me to go home with a 6-month-old baby, his sister actually had to come and take care of me and the baby for a long time. So flash forward when he got shot, this was now, I guess, like 6 or 7 years after. It was like no brainer that I was going to be his caregiver. I was going to be pushing him in his wheelchair, and I was fine with it. So I think that that's where it hit me when somebody said that to me at a celebration of life. Is like, I never once thought of myself like that. I never once thought like, oh, I'm just an accessory, basically.
Yeah.
Um, and it really did hit me then, and nobody cared so much how I was doing. Or if they did, I was easily able to deflect to him in his wheelchair or what he was going through, or, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sleeping on the floor, but,
He's
like,
doing
he's doing
fine.
well. Yeah, we're great. We're fine. It was fine. It was easy then. But really, when they said that, I was already bitter. And there had been plenty of arguments between his PTSD and traumatic brain injury and stuff. And then my grieving through him not dying like somebody else did that day, um, feeling guilty for, just a lot of different levels of that. But being a piece of furniture was not. It was not one of my things. So when she said that, I
Yeah.
thought, oh my God, everybody sees right through me. They can see my hurt, my pain, that I'm like just putting on this front.
Yeah.
Um, he had said to me at one point that in their community, they say you find out what kind of wife you have when you get wounded and how she takes care of you. And I remember arguing with him sometime throughout and him saying stuff like that to me. And then this lady said that you're just a piece of furniture. And I was like, okay, this is it. I have to worry about me. My kids can't see this. My kids can't feel this
Yeah.
really. Um, and so it was after that, actually, my friend messaged me shortly after and was like, hey, I just saw this. You should apply. And then when I went to Montana, they said I was the first application and that I had sent mine in within minutes of them even putting it out. It was incredible timing because it was everything I
Yes.
needed, honestly. It was my saving grace.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Divine timing is something that I believe in
Me too.
wholeheartedly.
Wholeheartedly.
Um, Universal signs, whatever it is you believe in, I think things open when we're ready to receive them. And it may have been before that furniture comment, you may not have been in a place to receive that.
That's right. Yes. I might have snapped, right? Like I could have, that could have been it for me. It could have been the needle on the haystack that just,
Yeah.
pissed me off and I was ready to go. But it wasn't. It hit harder. And it
Yeah.
obviously just the things that I was experiencing inside, they were then that people recognized it too for me. I was like, oh gosh, okay, I'm not playing a hard game. I really gotta do something.
Absolutely. And I
Hmm.
feel like so with the furniture comment, I feel like that kind of plays into when I have, other listeners or people that I've networked with that say that they feel like they faded into the background. They
Yes.
matched the wall. They felt like a roommate. I feel like they're all kind of the same premise and same motto, but do you feel like you were grieving some of that before you guys ever actually separated?
Yes, for sure. Because I didn't want to believe it. I was kind of like military leadership, right? They lift up that rug and sweep it under there if it's inconvenient timing for them. Whatever shame and guilt, sweep it right there. Let's just get rid of it. We'll cover it. We'll figure it out when you get back. And I was getting good at that too, but it had to stop. It did
Yeah.
because that those things just led to the next thing, to more things, right?
Yeah.
And I
I
think
think
I wrote
a
it
lot of us
in. Yeah, you
go
do.
ahead.
I think we know before we say anything.
I do. And I think a lot of us are conditioned, whether military or not, to sweep things under the rug, to stay silent, to stay caged, to keep everything peaceful and in this pretty little presentation. And so we're all silently grieving, silently realizing we've become furniture or a roommate or our version of happily ever after that we thought we were going to have at 30, 40, 50, whatever the age may be, is slowly slipping away from us and we're watching it, but we've been so trained to keep our mouths closed about it and keep everything right for the household, for the kids, for the sake of the job, for the sake of the military, the country,
Absolutely.
we and then I think that's another part of where we're self-sacrificing so much and we're losing so much of who we are. So
Mhm. It's
it
true. And then that's codependency setting in. I used to say,
yes.
I'm not codependent. He is. He needs me to do anything. Are you kidding me? Like he doesn't know when he gets paid because I
Yeah.
just take care of it. He doesn't know which doctor the kids go to. He doesn't, I mean, I'm not dependent on him. He's dependent on me. And then I was like, oh my goodness, this has just been
Yeah.
happening for
Yeah.
years. I was just
Yep.
buried.
That's a bitter pill to swallow when you turn around and say, wait a minute, I'm actually codependent on him needing me. And it's
Yes.
this vicious cycle that just continues. And I don't know about you, but I know for me it was really difficult to sit with that and to say after I put this label on someone else to be like, oh no, wait a minute. That's actually me. I'm the problem. Like it
Yes.
was really difficult for me to sit
Hmm.
with that and say, "Oh, okay, well," because now that I've realized that, even though I am the problem, it's how do I fix it? And it's stepping outside of that box and finally saying the hard things that people don't want to say out loud about
Absolutely.
themselves, about their spouses, about anybody. You don't want to have
Yes.
to say those hard things out loud.
Absolutely. And for me, it was, I really noticed it. I started like, okay, wait, am I the codependent one? We're going to go on a bike ride. I'm not going to do all the steps that I would do to make sure this bike ride is going to go off with it out, like without any issues, right?
Yes.
I didn't do anything. We start to go on the bike ride and bam, he's mad. I didn't pump up the air tires before. And so he's got to now do it. Well, the way I was raised and my dad, that would have never even been on my plate to think about airing up
Yeah,
the tires, right? But that was a real clue for me. It was like, are you up there air up the tires? Like, you've
yeah,
got it just fine. It's only going to put us back a little bit. But because I didn't think about it ahead of time, it was like, a huge storm blew up.
absolutely.
It was those little glimmers. And then still to this day, even divorced, I tell my kids, I may still be codependent in y'all's honor the rest of your lives when it comes between your dad and I, because I just got to make sure they're in. I gotta preface for them. I gotta make sure that the setting's right, and I'm not sending them to walk into the storm that I,
Absolutely.
eventually stop putting
Absolutely.
out.
Some part of that, I think, has to be, I think it walks a fine line between protection and codependence. And I know that
Absolutely.
there are listeners that are going to say, no, you're just rationalizing it. And maybe part of me I am, but
Sure. Right.
I do think even for ourselves, some of it is protection. We do with
Absolutely.
codependency have a lot of control, but what we can control, then we hope doesn't lead to chaos. So, and that's a hard place to say, okay, well, I can let go of the control, but if I let go of the control, then I'm going to deal with chaos and my nervous system is already in chaos. So what do I do? So I
Right.
think there's a very fine line that you kind of have to walk when you're coming to terms with you're dealing with someone who has potentially abusive, not saying that your person does or doesn't, but if someone has abusive tendencies, whether physical, emotional or not, whether you have your own pieces of the puzzle that play into it, having to start to kind of go through, is this codependency, is this control, is this chaos, is it boundaries, can really be very difficult and very unsettling.
Absolutely. Yes. For years, honestly. I mean, I've been separated now for 4.5 years, I guess, and I still am quick to say no to something, and then I'm like, hold on, wait, hold on. I should reevaluate this and make sure that I really want to say no. I mean, something as simple as lemonade, right? I used to just, there was a story behind lemonade. I never drank lemonade. It was like, I just said I don't like lemonade. And then somebody asked me a couple years ago, and I'm like, wait a minute, do I like lemonade? Like,
See for
yes, I
myself
don't.
if I like
Hold on.
lemonade or not.
I actually
I
like
actually
it. It
might.
is thirst quenching, you know?
Yes, and it's so funny that just lemonade is to you that's a huge milestone, huge thing that you
Yes,
overcame, but it seems so small to others, but honestly there will be things. I'm 10 years post divorce and I still find little things like that, little glimmers that come along that it's like, oh, wait a minute, I can make this decision on my own. I am
yes,
worthy of that. This is okay to do. And
yes.
I always tell clients that if your goal is to be healed, you're not doing it right. I'm sorry. Your goal should always be healing because there's no finish line here. You're going to
There's none.
be 4 years, 10 years, 20 years post divorce, post separation, whatever your situation is. And you will still find those little moments where you're like, oh, I do have a voice.
Right.
I can,
Right. And it's
I
okay
can
to
make
say
this.
something like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I
Yes.
protected myself for so many years. I protected our marriage, our family, whatever. Didn't need to share too much. And then now it's like, oh my gosh, I can speak up or speak out. And it's okay if you do. I tend to keep to myself most of the time, but it's when there are quality conversations and you have time to sit with people, it's so genuine. And that in itself is part of the healing process. I agree.
Absolutely. And I think when we can
Hmm.
find like-minded people, which is the purpose of this space, it's the purpose of your space, is it makes you feel a little less isolated and a little less alone because they're the same people that are sitting with the feeling like the furniture, feeling like the roommate, feeling like they'll never heal, they'll never, have the glow up. And so many people focus, I think, on the glow up being you get skinnier, you get, better clothes, you lose all the weight, you get better makeup, better hair, whatever. It's not. It's an internal process of learning that you are worthy. You do have a voice in things. You are not just a piece of furniture. And having people around you that can celebrate that and have those genuine conversations, the community that you build is, I think, just as important as the self work that you do.
I agree. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. It is. And especially the older we get, right? It's harder. And then we have our other focus. And then being a single mom to my kids in their teens, it's like,
Yeah,
it's easy to make an excuse. It really is. I don't have time. I can't do
absolutely.
that, whatever it might be. It's so
Absolutely. But
important.
you can't, but what did you say before? We can't be we if I'm not me. And
That's
that's the
right.
same thing with being a mom. You can't be we as a mom if you can't be you as a woman. You can't be, and for my male listeners, you can't be a father until you're the man that you're supposed to be. You can't be the mother unless you're the woman that you're supposed to be. And you have to allow yourself the permission. And I find it so much easier to get permission when you're hanging around the people, surrounding yourself with people who are like minded, who
Yes.
want to challenge you to be better, but not silence you at the same time.
Yes. And not let you sit there and like dwell and hold on to it and like just spiral, right? But okay,
Yes.
now you're gonna get motivated. We're gonna shift this. We're gonna do better. We're gonna like, okay, what could we do to fix it? I need
And it
it's
is
great when you
easy.
have somebody to hold your hand through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's easy to get lost in that moment too. It's easy
Hmm.
to spiral and just want to bring up all of the bad and all of the trauma. And it's so funny. I had this exact conversation with my oldest stepchild this weekend. We were discussing, the trauma spiral, and every time, we get together, what are we talking about? It's like you really have to shift that focus to not deep diving in the drama, but you really have to deep dive into what can I pull forward from this. So we're not
Yes,
saying don't talk about it ever, because it happened. It's a part of your story, but it's really not getting dug down in the details, and it's more so what purpose did you pull forward from the pain that you've gone through?
absolutely. Yes. And if my kids learn one thing from all of my life experiences that they've been with me, it's that. It didn't work out the way you wanted to, but we deviate and we fixed it.
Yeah.
We came up with another. Oh, that didn't work either. Okay, let's keep shifting wherever we need to. You don't just dwell on it. You don't get stuck on it. Um, but I completely agree. I mean, even for a while, my kids would go see their dad, and we just live in such different households. So I'm like calm and
Yeah.
incense burning and like easy listening music. And um, they used to, when I would pick them up, they would want to talk all the way home about their time with their dads, and then the whole next week they want to talk about it. And me inside, I'm like, okay, just they can share with me whatever. But it was just burning so bad. And finally, I was like, okay, you guys can talk about your time at your dad's the whole drive home, but as soon as we pull in the driveway, like you have to let it go because
Yes.
that's not we don't bring that in. It's just like leaving work at work. Same difference.
Yeah.
There's a separation. And now that my daughter's about to go to high or college, there are ways that she's doing things. I'm like, okay, I see that she's shifting. She's learning as she's aging to not just hold on to it and let it keep ruling her days, really. Anything. It's
Absolutely.
pretty
They
cool.
get there.
Mm-hmm.
They get there.
They do.
And that is a promise. I have told so many people that you can confirm they do get there. They do
They get
age, and
there.
they do see who is
Mm-hmm.
consistent, who taught them the things. They're silently watching every
Yes.
single thing that we do. And I think a lot of people who are separated have the two households can appreciate, my son, I say the word switch gears. So on
I
the
like
way
it.
from there to here, it's let's switch gears. We're not over there anymore. We're over here. And
Yes.
this is how we do things over here. And I do allow him a few moments. We have a code word that he comes up with, and he'll say it to me. And he has 5 minutes to say whatever it is he wants. He can vent, he can cry, he can be frustrated. And at the end, I ask him, do you want support or advice? And if he wants support, I just hug him and then we move on. If he wants advice, then we'll talk a little bit more about what he needs. And that's
Yes.
the safe space, but we don't talk about it all the time. We don't spin on it all the time. It's not allowed
That's
because
right.
it creates chaos in your environment. And it's like I told somebody one time, I was like, I didn't leave the chaos to create chaos in a new zip code. So,
True. Yes, absolutely. That's so true.
yeah, and I
It
think
is.
so many of us get stuck in that of, well, but I got to protect my kids, so I've got to bring it in here. Some things, yes, you do, but some things you can truly build your routines around so that you don't have to do that.
Yes, I completely agree. I do. I have people ask me, like in yoga and my kids and anything all the time, like, how do you escape a busy mind? How do you not listen? I call it like getting on my treadmill. If I get on my treadmill, once I recognize I've been on that thought treadmill, I got to jump off or I can just keep running. I'm exhausted, right? Like I'm killing myself. So for me, I got to jump off that treadmill. But if a thought comes into my head 3 times, I have to sit with it. So it's kind of like my personal rule, and it helps me. It helps me sleep better. It helps me like delegate my time during my day, not getting distracted, and my mood isn't so much in flux. Right? Whether that's a daily thing or just in general. Once that third time, I have to just stop what I'm doing and sit and let it move through me. Listen, learn, take something from it. But it keeps popping up for a reason, right? We don't know why, maybe because we're busy and we're trying to like, oh, whatever, don't. But at that third time, I'm like, okay, I got to sit with this. And so my kids have adopted that too. And I really appreciate that. Maybe not my boy quite yet, but my girl, I can see her, things are not just dwelling and holding on to her quite as long, but something I've been doing for years. And I think that I don't even know where I learned it, but it's definitely helped me because it's so easy to just be like, okay, not right now, or jump on my treadmill, right? Like my
Yeah,
thought treadmill, where
and
I just
stew.
don't
Yeah,
stop. Yeah, just stew. And then I'm losing sleep, and then I'm not productive the next day or on task and target, right? Whatever. So
that's
it all
incredible.
matters. It really
So,
is.
when you sit with it, so you said 3 times, and then you have to sit with it. You have to acknowledge it and sit with it. I'm a big believer in you can't get through something without going through something. You have to
Yes.
sit with it and feel all the feelings. So, what does that look like when you do that? Are you sitting in a comfy spot? Are you journaling? Are you yogaing? What are you doing?
Depends on where I'm at. Yogi ish, I guess. Mostly I'll sit on my bolster or mat. Um, just because I think my body also knows that's my safe space. And so I can cleanse, I guess. I can like really truly think. As a Christian, like maybe I sit in prayer because I could be at a stoplight when that third time pops. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? So sometimes I have to pull in to a parking spot and like just sit for a second. But it's also journaling. Um, Turning on good music. I'm a big music head. So turning on the music and just sitting there with it. And then if it's over 3 times and it hasn't, you know, really like been satisfied, I guess, the thought, and it keeps coming up, then I will journal. I write it all out nonstop. And some of it may never make sense, right? But that's what helps. Otherwise, I really do lose sleep. I lose my focus. I can't do a lot. So,
Yeah.
especially through
And
separation, and there's so many times that was so like in my face and I had to. So yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I think when we're in the thick of it, it's very easy to get on that thought treadmill and just stay there for the long haul. I mean, we will quite literally exhaust ourselves staying on there. Is there
Yes.
anything that you bring to mind? So, if you've thought about it 3 times and you don't sit down with it and you do hop on that treadmill, is there anything that you can recommend doing to hop yourself back off of it?
Right. Well, so I say as soon as you notice that you're on it, you're off. As soon as you notice, and you don't just keep running. Like that's crazy. Right. If I know I
It's
hurt my knee
exhausting.
and it's like telling
Yeah.
me I'm hurting, like I'm not gonna keep running on my knee, right? So same type of thing. As soon as I recognize it, but that's the hardest part is to take a step back sometimes and recognize, oh my God, how long have I been thinking about this? I don't even remember my drive home because it's muscle memory at this point, right? Oh my God, did I stop
Yeah.
at that light? Was it like green when I went through it as I'm pulling in my driveway because I was so
I
deep
hope
in
so.
thought?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know how to get home, but I didn't even think about getting home.
Right.
I think it is just as soon as I recognize it, it's so important. And that's a win right there. You recognize that you've been on that thought train for too long, jump off.
Absolutely. Well, I think that is amazing advice. You've given us
Good.
so many nuggets during this conversation. I love it.
Good.
I want to talk about Lotus River Wellness, but I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests before you leave. I feel like I can already pull a few answers from what we talked about for this, but I want to see if you have anything else. So, when someone hears or reads, if we put your story into a book years from now, what do you hope it gives them permission to change in their own lives?
It's never too late to start. Don't hold yourself back. If you're afraid, you're probably in the right spot. You're doing the right things because you should. Somebody once told me fun is on the other side of fear. We were doing trapeze training, and she was scared of heights. She was scared of all kinds of stuff, and um, she was like, "Fun is on the other side of fear." And I didn't really necessarily take the fun is on the other side of fear, but like really, my life is on the other side of that fear. If I could just get over that hump, if I'm scared, I'm probably doing the right thing and it matters to me. I lead with a lot of passion. And so when my heart's in it, I got to do it. It's time. So, yeah,
All of those pieces, all
good.
everything that you've shared the whole time, I think is absolutely incredible. I know you personally, so I know the passion that you have, but I also can feel it through this conversation, and I hope that the listeners absolutely can too, because you are definitely passionate. You want to be there for people. I think it's great. So, tell everybody where they can find you and tell us a little bit more about Lotus River Wellness.
Sure. So, Lotus River Wellness, as I kind of mentioned before, I went to yoga teacher training after I knocked the bitterness block off my shoulder, and I thought that would be all. I just teach classes, and then after divorce and separation, I had went through a bunch more training and specialty because I was a 20-year spouse, and so to have that as my identity for so many years, and then almost really like wake up the next day and I'm not a military spouse anymore. I lost all my benefits, like I thought I'd be able to buy a house one day, but now I don't even have that. My credit, everything was for him. There's a lot of things that I felt behind on as, almost 44 years old that I don't have that I should have already had. So feeling behind, but keep pushing. And really, it will all come to fruition. Just be patient. It's hard, but it's
Yes.
true.
It is. And you have built an absolutely beautiful, beautiful
Thank you.
practice. I love it.
Thank you.
So how do people find you?
Find me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess really I didn't even finish answering all of the question about Lotus River. So because I built it, I wanted those resources that I didn't have, right? When my ex got shot, they had given us a binder before he deployed and said like, if anything happens, all the information's in there that you can expect, what's the steps to take and everything. So that was all I had. Thankfully, I'm very organized, and so I just went to my binder and went through my checklist, but I know how much I was missing and how much I had to go and look for on my own for resources, whether it was a deployment, a training trip, or injury. There's so many different things in life, but I think truly if I had the skill set earlier on that I was given later in yoga teacher training, then I could have had more of a calm approach to life. I could have had more nervous system regulation for my spouse coming in and out the door with his busy tempo of deployments and stuff. My kids could have been better. If when I take a deep breath, you notice like your whole family takes a deep
Yeah.
breath, right? So if I
Yes.
know how to do it, then so going through all of these and wishing I had more, I decided like I have to offer this to more people. And so I wrote my manual as specific to the community that I wish I had had at the time, and hope that more people will get on it before it's too late, right? I say a lot of times in the military, it's not if, but when. You either retire, you're injured, you're wounded, something. One of those things is
Absolutely.
gonna happen to somebody. So I I did. I wrote my manual and created Lotus River for the people that really kind of need to get back on track for themselves, but they're so passionate about like leading their family and being a stay-at-home mom and military spouse, just like I was. But there still should be something for them that they love and they enjoy, and so um, yes. But Lotus River Wellness, you can find us online at lotusriverwellness.org or .com, and on Instagram, Lotus River Wellness. I think TikTok or just Lotus River. But yeah, definitely
Awesome.
find us. Yes.
Yes, everybody give Steph a follow for sure. Even if you can't make yoga work, you don't want to make it work, this just stuff she shares is absolutely motivational, inspiring, incredible. I am absolutely positive that she would love the outreach and to help anybody because I know that's her
Yes,
heart. So
absolutely. Yes,
awesome.
thank you for that. Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. All of Steph's information will be in the show notes. So, everybody, thank you for joining us for another episode and happy rewriting. Bye.
Thank you.